Gotham Chopra is the co-director of Prime Video's built in Birmingham. Brady and the Blues, following along the team that Tom Brady purchased a piece of over across the pond, as I'm mandated to say anything that involves sports in the UK. And that's available on Prime Video right now. And Religion to Sports, co-founded by Brady and Stray, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you talk to these guys often, or how much are you interfacing with these guys? How involved in the business are they? They're pretty busy.
They're
folks
very
otherwise.
busy. They're both really busy. But I would say, I mean, look, first of all, they're founders. They've inspired this whole thing. They're incredibly engaged when I ask them to be. Like, hey, I need an intro to this, or what do you think about that? They're both really accessible. I mean, with Tom in particular, you know, we've done a lot with him because, especially at that transition from, you know, the last years of football, which we thought were going to be in 2017, and then it kept on going and going and going. But then even as he's transitioned, so we've done a lot of content around Tom.
Right.
But
anything in the booth for Fox? Do you have that stuff?
I mean, there's been some stuff captured, you know.
Okay.
I think when we were working in 2017 on the initial Tom versus Time thing, you know, that was around the time like The Last Dance was being talked about and people were talking about it's coming out. And suddenly in our business, everybody's like, oh, let's make the next Last Dance. Let's, you know, singular moment, singular athlete. But if there was one athlete that you're like, oh, you know what, like we should be capturing content, it was Tom. Like, how's this going to end? And so we never stopped, which led to a series of projects. But I think also there continues to be a lot of content capture because, you know, I don't want to take 30 years like they did with The Last Dance, but there's probably some version of a legacy film at some point.
On the Patriots you're talking about?
I think it's the Patriots, it's the Bucks. There was some stuff, you know, we captured around the Bucks at the end. Transition out of football.
Right.
And I mean,
well, but The Last Dance would be the Patriot, right? Like, because The Last Dance was about a dynasty that could have kept going, but for various reasons of what was going between management, coach, and what was going on between management and player, essentially got in the way. I mean, that was the message of The Last Dance. And then there were some chemistry issues amongst the stars of the team that was boiling over for a while. Although I wouldn't sense that from the Patriots. And I'll be honest with you, the Brady roast, which I'm sure you must have been at, right?
I was there.
Okay, I was too. That felt like a therapy session.
Yeah.
And it was important for the therapy session to happen there, even though I know Brady has mentioned regrets about the roast, certainly when it comes to his children having to hear all that stuff on the stage. But in terms of his retirement ceremony at Gillette, I thought that was a lot more kumbaya and everything had gotten out of the way due to the roast. I really believe that.
Yeah, that was purging for sure.
I thought so. Like that there were some things that were said through humor that couldn't have been said directly face to face that would have allowed the night in Gillette to be as so I guess wondrous as it was. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think the purging of all the toxic stuff helped. I think also time, perspective.
Yes.
And that perspective was leaving the Patriots. It was going to a different organization, having some success.
Right.
It was off the field stuff. It's like, what's really important to you? Who's really impacted your life? I mean, and he's still in that stage because he's still in a transitional stage. And so I think, but he's very like self-aware in that sense, he's young still by human standards, but he's a pretty old guy as far as like sports athlete standards.
Right.
And he's gained a lot of perspective. So yeah, I think that night, I was there also at the Patriots Hall of Fame thing or whatever.
That's a beautiful night.
It was really special.
Free of all the, of all the stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And it helps, I guess, to do vodka or tequila shots together on a stage, right? And get all the stuff out about, Belichick from, Gronk and Edelman saying that.
Brady
and obviously
getting emotional.
Right. Yeah. And then, Kraft was showing up and then whatever was going on there. That was removed from Brady's night in Gillette.
Yeah.
A few weeks later, I think. So when folks flip on Amazon Prime, probably midnight tonight, I imagine. That's the way things happen in the streaming world because it debuts on this Friday, tomorrow. What are they going to see? What are they going to see?
Yeah, so, we tracked that team. So Tom got involved, I guess, now 2 years ago and as part of the ownership group. And look, Welcome to Wrexham has laid the path for this type of narrative. And so we just thought it would be interesting. And also, like,
Didn't they cross paths as well?
Oh, yeah, because they were both. So what happened the first year, it was this big idea, like two Americans, one big, billionaire Wall Street guy, and then Tom Brady, the greatest, winner of all times, at least in American sports, come in, and they're going to reverse the course of this franchise that, has had at best mediocrity through its 125 years of history. And, the expectation is it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Going to reverse. And of course, the first thing they do is they fire the coach. Not a good idea. And it was terrible. It was terrible. And, in the English football leagues, you have relegation.
Yes, sir.
So if you don't make a certain standard, you get dropped. They got dropped. Tom Brady was part of a team that was so bad it got moved to a lower league from the championship level to the League One level, which was terrible for them. Awesome for us because
as
it gave us a lot of great tension and story, because it was like, oh, shoot. But we just kept the cameras rolling them from first season to the second season. And the second season, I think, where Tom Brady and Tom Wagner, his co-owner, were able really to implement their system, start rebuilding the culture, obviously bring in some players, and you could start to see the change. And then they had, in a lower league, a historic season in terms of like wins, success, etc. And so now they've been promoted, as has Wrexham, into the championship, back to where they started.
Well, you as a documentarian of Brady and someone who's been around Tom, and I think Raiders fans would take interest in this, is what is Brady's style of ownership? Like, what would you, obviously, he doesn't have as large a piece of the Raiders as he would Birmingham, but what is he bringing to the equation in Vegas that you've seen that he brought to the equation here in this documentary?
Well, I mean, I think the honest answer is it's still a work in progress because it's new to him. And I think one of the things he's realized is, when you're a player, certainly when you're the quarterback, certainly when you're Tom Brady at the ladder, you have control. Like, you are the guy on the field calling the plays, directing your teammates, etc. When you're an owner, a coach or an owner, you're removed. And so you have to put the other guys in position to be the best versions of themselves. You can't do it. And so that requires a level of surrender. But look, I think Tom...
Which, by the way, people of his level, stature and accomplishment have a tough time doing.
It's really hard.
And that's why what Dion's doing is amazing, because when you're a Hall of Famer with the heart of a champion, a mindset of a champion, and the physical abilities to back it all up, you don't suffer fools very well. And it's tough to coach that sort of, it's tough to coach down, right? Because you're trying to reach people who need to be dragged in a way that you never had to be by a coach, right?
Totally.
And so it can't be simple.
It's not simple. It's a different generation of players.
Right.
How you motivate them is different than, I remember when we did the Man in the Arena series, the generation of players that he really grew up with, like the Mike Vrabels, the Teddy Bruschi's, the Ted Johnsons, Willie McGinnis, that's a very different, that's a pre-social media generation, pre-millennial generation. So now, even though you have incredibly talented players, the Max Crosby's and Geno Smiths, this is a different culture and how you influence and inspire. So I think Tom's learning that. Look, at the end of the day, he's a guy who's he tells me all the time, he's like, people love to talk about culture. Well, culture are people. And, what are people? People are made up of values. What are the uncompromising values of this organization going to be? And he has thoughts on that. So does Pete Carroll. So does, John Spytek. So do all the people now. And now you got to figure it out. A different, I think they all share belief that culture drives success. But now, you really get into the component parts of that culture, and you got to figure it out. And then you have players.
Well, if you had told me that Tom Brady would eventually have ownership, a piece of an NFL franchise, I would have believed it. If you had told me that when he got a piece of that franchise would be open for business and hiring a coach, I'd say, okay, now I'm very intrigued. And if you had told me the coach he would hire would be from a Super Bowl he was involved in, I'd be like, oh, how is Belichick available? And Belichick was available, and he chose, along with the rest of the Raiders, Pete Carroll. And that one, I think, arched a few eyebrows.
Yeah.
Were you around for that as well?
Yeah, because I had gotten to know Pete, as I'm sure we'll talk about through this class that he was involved in teaching here at USC. Mm-hmm. So I'd gotten to know him. And then, Pete had told me at the time, he's like, I'm a happily retired guy. I'm having a good time, not interested in any of that stuff. Then Black Monday comes. Then, one of Pete's mantras is always compete.
Yep.
And I think he started to hear us too old. He's out there, but he's not really a candidate. He's 73 years old. It's passed him by. And, that guy.
That's all you need. That's all he needs to hear.
Yeah, it's always needs. And I think, he was a candidate. Again, I wasn't in any of these rooms or anything, but I think I can see, having gotten to know both of them pretty well. Again, maybe a different component parts, which now they will figure out together. But the belief in culture driving success, and in the NFL, everybody's good. All the players are great. You don't get to that level unless you're exceptional. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily talent. That it's how do you motivate guys? Who's got the resilience? Who's got all of that? And those two guys, man, they inspire.
That's the connective tissue?
That's the connective tissue. I mean, they just have, it's what's the Mike Tyson saying? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, so we'll see what happens.
Right.
Of course, they open against the Patriots.
Isn't that
the
amazing?
Raiders do.
Isn't that amazing?
So the NFL.
But Tom won't be there. He's going to be in the booth for Fox that day. But that said, Pete in New England, where he used to coach as well.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he was the predecessor to Belichick.
Yeah. Yep.
And now he's showing up as the coach of the Raiders' first game in New England. I got Gotham Chopra here on the Rich Eisen Show. Built in Birmingham, Brady and the Blues is a new documentary on Prime Video that starts tomorrow, Friday, August 1st on Prime Video. Let's talk about Pete and that class at USC, because I was at the last one of them.
Yeah.
Susie, my wife, Susie Schuster, goes way back with Pete. She met Pete when she was covering USC here, working locally in sports. Loves Pete. Connected with Pete. Pete's like, hey, I'm teaching a class at USC, and it's the last one. Why don't you come down? And she says to me, you should come down. Now, Thursday's my poker night. And that's inviolate, pretty much. So I'm serious. This is the way it went. I'm like, absolutely, I'll go. But maybe, I don't want to intrude. I'm going to leave or whatever. I didn't budge.
Yeah.
I watched that 2-hour final class where all the kids in this class were talking about what Pete and what he was teaching all semester long had made an impact on all of them. I'm getting goosebumps just remembering it. And you were there with a camera. So you've documented everything that I came on this show to talk about. For how many classes were you there?
I mean, I think there was 14 classes in that whole semester. And I was there for at least half, if not more, 10 of them or so.
Why'd you get involved with this? Did you hear about it through after you got hired?
No, so my really closest friend is the dean of religion, was the co-professor of that class, Varun Soni. He's the dean of religion at USC.
Yeah, the other gentleman on the screen.
Yeah. He's got the Raiders hat now. He's a true believer. But I've known him for a long time, and he told me in the early stages, hey, I'm starting to develop this thing with Pete. Mm-hmm. And I think, and look, it was a perfect story. It was like the old ball coach is coming back to the school that made him a legend to see if he can inspire these kids. It's going to take all the wisdom he has gained from 40 years of school, 40 years of coaching, and bring it back to these kids. And the kids were all mostly juniors and graduating, seniors getting ready for the real world. And so the idea was can Pete come and help them as they transition?
He sure did.
Oh my God.
I've never seen anything like that, Gotham. It was beautiful.
And every week
I was crying, and I didn't even meet these kids.
Every week was like that. And every week, I'm trying to remember who was the teacher in that. They would
David Belasco was.
Well, they would bring in a guest,
yes, right?
Yeah, every week. And it was incredible. He had Tom on one week.
Zoomed in once, right?
Yeah, and it was just Pete has this ability, even though he's 73 years old, to connect and relate to people. And, with
young people.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Which is why he can be terrific as a coach of the Raiders.
I mean, it was deeply personal to me, too, because, I live in Los Angeles. I lived in the Palisades. You know, we were affected by the fires right when the class was starting. My son, who's the 17-year-old at Pali High, his school was basically done.
Right.
He was going to have to go on Zoom. And I told Pete, I'm like, hey, can I bring my son to this class? And one of his classmates, and Pete's, of course, you know, Dean Sony will figure it out with the university.
Right.
I took my son for that first class. And afterwards, as we were driving home, my son said, can I come next week? And I called Pete, and Pete's like, oh yeah, he's part of this class. He's part of the tribe now.
Amazing.
He and his friend Kai, every week, they were there every week. I didn't go every week. My son did. And it was like transformative.
For him at a very important time.
Yeah. And it's just like that. Pete has that ability to understand, like, okay, what's your story? What do you need? How can I help you unpack it? And it's just, I mean, and I think that's, I mean, I've been up in Vegas a few times. Like, you can see it. He's now doing it with the players. It's actually the same. You're like, oh, and he always says, he's like, watch, I'm going to do the same gags that he does in the class. He does in some of the meetings. And it does work. Because, by the way, like, some of these players are 23. Those kids were 21, 22 in the class.
Right. With their world in front of them, they were just about to graduate. So they knew that they were going in a new world. And they had a coat of armor.
Yeah.
About themselves, about their confidence level as who they were as people, and their confidence level of what they learned and how they can translate it to maybe getting that first job.
Yeah,
I was awed and jealous at the same time that they felt empowered, and I'm like, how can I feel that way? I mean, literally I left the class saying that.
He was so open and vulnerable. You mentioned, you know, he talks a lot about his origin story, the Patriots. You know,
Don't forget the Jets.
And well, he got fired from all these, and he says like getting fired from the Patriots forced him to really like reflect on what his story was and why was he doing it. So he's been through this process. And that's kind of what he helped these kids like unpack. And I mean, I say kids, but they're like young adults going out into the world during a very difficult time, climate, AI, like everything's upside down.
Yes.
And, you know, he just really helped them connect with themselves. Yeah.
It's amazing. When I mean, you're in the edit bay now,
I mean, like,
or what are you going to do with this? I want the world to see this.
I know, and I'm at a stage like, you know, my career too, where I'm like, you know, I have this incredible privilege of having access and building all these relationships, and so I sometimes just like I want to go see where it goes. So like, you know, we have all that stuff in the can. We've been working on it, but you know, it's also hard to cinematically build something that takes place in a classroom. So it's like, oh, now he's taking a lot of what Pete learned, because he's also curious and hungry and always evolving. And he's taking his experience from the class and now integrating it into the Raiders, seeing what works. And so we're, you know, poking around over there, seeing what's happening. And, you know, I let these things, like even that Birmingham thing, we thought it was going to be the first season, but then we're like, let's keep going. Let's wait till this thing is ready. And then after 2 seasons, it was ready. And so we'll see.
Okay. Well, do you know who's teaching the class this fall?
They're going to keep it going. It won't be Pete.
No, I know who it is. Yeah. It's Susie. It's my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah. David Belasco asked because we saw it. It meant a lot to her. And she's doing it. And
tough act to follow. But
I know that. She knows that. She knows that. But she can't wait.
Yeah.
She can't wait because she saw it. She was equally as inspired by it. And the green light occurred a few weeks ago, and she can't wait. Oh, she's trying to outbook Pete.
Yeah,
she's always competing.
Well,
too,
look, hopefully my, you know, Professor Belasco amazing, Professor Sony, Dean Sony amazing. Like, so she's gonna have great teammates.
I'm telling you, she's psyched. I'm psyched for her. And you're right. I mean, it's big shoes to fill, but she loves Pete, and she's gonna continue the spirit.
He'll be a great mentor.
Continue the spirit. You know. Prime Video is built in Birmingham. Brady and the Blues. It debuts tomorrow, Friday, August 1st. Good to see you, sir. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.